Good morning, my my small village of Ojes. Good morning. Happy Salah, happy holiday, happy relaxation, happy everything. Yeah, I posted it on my story last night that last night was and should be the most chaotic um, work session that I have ever had. Most chaotic glam session I ever had. It was and should be. So I said I would share more about it after I was done packing. But by the time I said that, I knew that I wouldn't make it. You know when you just want to lay your back for a little bit and you are far gone. The next thing I saw was 4:38 a.m. in the morning. So tea time. Let's sip some tea and talk about it. So this is ginger, clove, and honey. You know when you know that your immune system just deserves this. Let me get straight into the juice then. If I was telling this story, if I told this story last night, in the moment, I might be able to capture the exact emotion. But now that I have slept over it, waking up and just telling the story, it would be too explanatory. But anyways, I would share. I'm really just inclined to share. Yesterday being Salah, I had a walk-in client in my studio. So she had a timing she was working with. So now the beautiful thing this lady had done was she calculated her timing was graceful, and she herself was a super graceful human being. You see, that's the issue now. If it was yesterday, I wouldn't even start the story like this. I would just tell it and arrive at whatever. But now I am explaining and but anyways, we are just going to tell this story anyhow, sha. So she was graceful with her timing, and she was a graceful person herself, just like me. So she already said, oh, latest by this time I would be out of here. Latest. Do you get? So she didn't put me under pressure at all. So along the line, I realized that the event she was going for, she might and she might not go. She would just, maybe set up a date after the makeup was done, and she would go for that. So there was no pressure with her. She was so laid back. She was so relaxed. I just pray for people like, She came around and we started our thing. So now the gist itself being that my intuition was telling me that my generator might likely go wrong. I had been preparing for this job for like 2 days. She had booked me 2 days ahead. And I'm like, my this gem must not go wrong. There was fuel inside. My generator is a 25-liter capacity fuel tank. So I'm sure there was fuel inside, because by the time I got fuel and poured more, it was filled to the brim. So I said, okay, for this feeling of mine that I had that my generator might go off, the only thing I could think of was fuel. So I made provision for that. So even if there's no power supply, which actually there wasn't, my generator would be on standby. Ladies and gentlemen, she, him, shim, they, them. I lied because my generator just went off. I just heard. I did not even hear. The whole light just went off. And I was like, My generator just went off. I went downstairs. I started it again. We went on. The first time it went off, I think it was just the eyeshadow and lips and those little touches that we had. By the time it went off again, I'd also made a bit of progress. Then it went off the third time, and I was like, I shouldn't turn it on again. Something else was wrong. But I didn't know what. I checked the fuel. It was intact. My whole mind was just that fear. So, my client, who happens to be a baby girl, hey God, she just said, let's go and check the generator. I said, check what? It was Salah. And my generator guy's number was not even going through. So there was no part of me that prepared for anybody coming around to fix that gen. That yesterday. So she just said, let's check it. Then I remembered, this lady, be like an engineer she be, because she fixes phones. I really thought that was a masculine thing to do. She does other baby girl things, but she fixes phones. That's like her main hustle. So she said we should go and check the gen. I said, okay, that's some androgens going on there actually. Let's go. This woman with full glam on her face squatted beside my generator. Full squat. Opened all the places I've ever opened before in my life. She opened it, checked one thing. She said I should get her, a broom or something long, tiny and long, to check. She's looking at her like this. With all the provision I thought I had made, because if you know me, I make sure I dot my I's, stroke my G's. I don't leave anything undone. But yesterday, so she checked. She brought out that thing, checked, and said, this thing is oil now. I said, sure. Then it also dawned on me that my generator person had stated that around this time you should be looking to service the gen. So what would be in my plan was definitely after Salah, thinking that let me use it yesterday, go for Salah, come back, talk about Monday, then I'm able to fix it. I lied though. So she said it is oil, that I should not even attempt to turn it on again. I shouldn't turn it on again. That it will make it go bad totally. Good. No gen, no power supply. I had to finish the makeup. What to do? Good thing was I had a rechargeable fan that was going on, natural lights that was going dim, my LED lights had 2 batteries that I had on at once. But that was my first time ever working in that kind of a situation. I have trained and worked in weird situations. I would think that the reward for all the hardship in the past would be to have a stable place of my own where I get things done. But again, I lied. Even in my space was where the chaos happened. We had to keep going on. We had to keep going on. Waiting to figure out wasn't the option. The option was just to keep going on. So then, how? I had one small ring light that could use power bank. Thank God I never dashed person that ring light. I brought it out. We started work. I was preserving the battery of the LED light. I was just, finishing touches here and there. And when you're trying to achieve a dewy look, because the only thing that would just look right on that lady's face was a dewy look. Dewy. But yes, dewy. The process was just a trust the process kind of situation. And God bless her kind soul. Not at any point did she crank up or expressed discomfort, which would actually be understandable if she did, but not at any point did she do that. She was so supportive of my calm, because in a situation like this, I see it as an opportunity for me to practice my calm. But remember, I am the only one who has that understanding going on within myself. And with that understanding, I wouldn't expect anybody to have that level of understanding that I have for myself with myself. I wouldn't expect it. So I also make, room for that. So even when I am trying, to be so calm and you're not, I would extend my calmness towards you. But this lady supported and aligned, see my fist, and aligned with my calm. While I was, touching up and just, fussing, she could tell that I was trying hard not to fuss about everything going on. There was no light. There was no power supply. There was no source of power supply to work at that moment. To finish up, I was just praying to hear that beep. The power would be ekdek. The ekdek brought light. Oh, it didn't happen. So we continued. She was so supportive. She's a blessing. She's a blessing to me, I swear. And if you ask me, those have been the kind of people that I have been experiencing on this path, in this journey so far. And I like mine. Zero drama, zero pressure. She was just going on with me. As I was telling myself, as I started to manifest out loud that Saida, be calm, you got this, you are calm, it was as if she was in my mind. She was just saying, babe, chill now, chill. She then started to even tell me, she showed me a reference video, like an inspo, or a kind of makeup she's done before that she really, really, really liked. She showed it to me and said that was her best makeup so far. So while the heat was going on, she then mentioned that, Tama, they do that makeup midnight. She was sort of like encouraging me that even the best look she has ever had so far was done dead in the night and maybe in almost similar situation. I was like, okay. Fellas, we did achieve a great look, I promise you. So with just those two dimming lights, I made sure to capture her contents. And she also made me understand that not going for the event she had planned had nothing to do with the glam session. She came with a very high level of probability. Maybe not she would go, but she already started to make date plans. So she was down for me to take her content, make videos of her, take pictures of her. She was giving me vibes. When I played a song that was not really, she changed it and, set herself in the mood. And I'm like, God bless you, my sweetheart. That was how, with no power supply, we were able to get things done. It was chaotic. It was calming as well, with my efforts and hers. It was, but I just never experienced anything like that before. I pray nothing of such happens again anyways, but it's done well to prepare me, and it was just such an experience I thought to share. Thank you so much for coming to my TikTok. Thank you. See you in another story. I enjoyed doing this, but definitely not a chaotic story. Not a bad story, please. Sweet stories only.